Good afternoon. Welcome to another IP Day webinar Wednesday. Today's topic is ABE GED Community Classroom and Engagement, because it's going to take a village. My name is Nicole Howard Rice, and I'm going to be facilitating this webinar today. Just a few housekeeping rules. If you have a question, please type it in the Q&A option. Attendees' microphones are all muted. If you're a regular, you already know that. And if it's your first time, all mics are muted. You will be in listen mode only. Today's presentation is going to be recorded and it will be archived and available on the IP Day website within 48 hours. And if there aren't any questions, let's go ahead and get started. In today's session, we will explore effective strategies for building an engaging community in the classroom that fosters an environment for increased skill mastery at any level or in any discipline. All of our resources are discussed, all the resources that are discussed and shared, all align to TABE 11 and 12 and the latest Florida curriculum frameworks. When you think of it's going to take a village, I really wanted to start with, for students to truly believe that they can imagine with practice, educators need to help them identify as learners who are surrounded by people who share their skills and their goals, according to Jane Bryant. I totally agree with this line of thinking. We must, when thinking about planning an effective community in the classroom, we have to first think about what our plan is going to be. And then what level of creativity we're going to bust wide open. And I am intentional in that line of thinking. We have to make sure, so what I did was I defined what a plan was and what it meant to create, not as an insult, but sometimes to restructure the way we think about what we're doing and the why behind what we do as it relates to really cultivating a village, a community that encompasses and includes all people, all things, for all purposes as it relates to progression. As educators, we are gifted with the opportunity to expand and expound on the resources and avenues for advancement. We all know that. Likewise, we are also responsible for preparing every adult learner we encounter with information that will positively impact their lives and their children's lives. We have double duty. Thus, we must include and consider Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And this is something that I know we think that we consider, but sometimes we as practitioners get buried in the minutia of the day-to-day that we without conscious look over those things. And we cannot, especially in today's time and the societal norms in which we are living in, we cannot omit these essential needs, because these are going to impact exactly and directly what happens in our classrooms and how it's going to help the instructor with, or help or hinder the instructor with cultivating an effective classroom community. So everyone's going to need to be involved and all sides are going to need to be considered. If you've ever been in one of my webinars before, you know that I spend a great time discussing how we process information from our mindset. I chose the hierarchy of needs, Maslow's hierarchy of needs first, and then transitioned into the growth mindset intentionally. Because those needs directly impact the mindset. According to Dr. Carol Dweck of Stanford Psychology, the mindset is the through line. If you're going to have a community in the classroom, learners need an identity to which they belong. Needs are essential. Thus, after extensive 30-year research and case study, Dr. D coins the theoretical phase, fixed and growth mindsets. If we don't address the needs of our learners in some way with wraparound services and or directly finding out what drives our learners at the beginning of class, during the orientation process, this allows us an opportunity to set a course for transitioning or changing or supporting or massaging a mindset that could have been damaged by we don't know what, through just common considerations of understanding what their needs are, and then finding opportunities to help transition their minds, if they are not already there, to a place where they say, learning is my goal. I know I can do better. I signed up for this program because I believe I can. And then it's our job to reiterate that for them. Put them in positions where there are opportunities for efforts to make them stronger. Give them the autonomy through support, love, and encouragement, where they want to spend more time working harder to obtain a higher achievement. That growth mindset, the way we see things, our worldview, is so important. And this also rings true for the practitioner who has the direct impact on the learner that's sitting in the seat or is working virtually. The same thing is noted here. This academic information came from the Northwest Educational Services, written by Learn How to Learn by Chris Lauper in May of 2021. Excuse me, the article was called Learn How to Learn by Chris Lauper in May of 2021. This is a very recent article. In 2018, a meta-analysis of studies encompassing nearly 400,000 students found only a weak correlation between, and this is what critics are saying, a weak correlation between having a growth mindset and a higher academic achievement. So the question then became, so does this mean that having a growth mindset isn't valuable after all? I'd like to hear or read a few comments from you. How do you all feel about the growth mindset after reading and listening to the hierarchy of needs, being reminded of that, understanding the development behind Dr. D's coin phrase, and then coming into this on what critics are saying? How do you all feel? I'd like to meet you in the Q&A. No feedback here? Okay, we'll move on. We already discussed the benefits of the growth mindset, but let's just go into some more research. I wanted to do a lot of research for this particular session because a lot of the times when in professional development sessions and we're having a conversation, in my experience, when having a conversation around small group learning, it's always a mixed bag of emotions and or responses. We have since then moved from a more traditional lecture style model of day-to-day instruction as practitioners, so that the mindset piece has become a has become a pivotal piece as it relates to developing and processing small group learning circles, i.e. communities. A meta-analysis published in 2013 found that 113 studies conducted by many authors and concluded that mindsets are a significant factor in people's self-regulation toward goals. The government data collected at a country level, all the 10th grade students in the country of Chile, and this may sound far off, but it's not, because we are a melting pot, showed that holding a growth mindset predicted academic achievement at every socioeconomic level. Recently, the state of California, collecting data from Chile, found that students' mindsets were a good predictor on their test scores. Now, this is the finalization for the skepticism that was established and then revisited and kind of duped by facts. Question. Let's see. I feel that our adult learners come into a classroom with a mindset, and it is difficult to get them to change their mindset because of their responsibilities to earn a living. Therefore, as the instructor, I might always encourage, challenge, and help them to focus on the goals they have set of achieving their GED. That is correct. Whomever left this, there's a comment in the Q&A, and you're correct. You're correct on both fronts. They do come in the classroom with a thought, with a mindset, with barriers, with walls, and whether we want to be tasked with it or not, we are tasked with supporting them and breaking some of those walls down. So I applaud you, practitioner, for always encouraging and without the compromise of challenging them to focus on why they signed up in the first place and keeping them fixated on the completion of a thing. The next practitioner shared, those with a growth mindset persevere and become self-sufficient as they don't wait to be told what to do. This statement, practitioner, is phenomenal. I'm going to really speak to this as we go forth, because I believe, it is my belief, my Nicoleology, that the two go hand in hand. Thank you so much for actively participating. Most recently, because of the way society has had it, some district officials or district employees have been staffed with going into the classrooms. And because of this, I've had the esteemed opportunity to speak with some of the brightest minds our future will hold. And the thing that troubled me about my encounter with these little geniuses was that most of them hadn't heard of a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Only 2 students were aware of this coined phrase. So I took the opportunity, because it was right there and I couldn't resist, to explain to them the importance and the necessity behind being able to shift your mind and dissect what you went through and not allow it to impact where you are going. This is something that as adult learning practitioners, we have to combat each and every day. So it's worth me stopping to applaud you for taking the time, because you knew when you signed up for this career that all of your gifts and the best praises were going to be those that you couldn't purchase, or you didn't have any kind of monetary amount to attach to the fulfillment that you were going to receive. When you see a student that comes into your classroom with a fixed mindset, and then by the time they leave you, they feel like they can stand on top of a mountain and they can conquer the world. You've done your job. and that particular learner has taken on the autonomy, and now they feel like they can do the job of managing themselves, and that deserves a major applause. Now, this one is going to get a little interesting because I did in my research, I wanted to see what was happening with Google, because social media is such a major component to everything that not only our young learners and adult learners, what they use on a day-to-day, that digital literacy. We're not going to be able to escape it. According to a recent research project that came from Google for Education on emerging trends for K-12 and global education, it was found that the following trends are and will lead in tomorrow's classroom academically. The first, computational thinking, collaborative classrooms, life skills and workforce preparation, which we know is a big driver for adult learners, student-led learning, and chiefly digital responsibility. Before I move to the next slide, it looks like I have something in the Q&A. Thank you, practitioner, for participating. I believe that the diversity of students that will work with indicates to us that their mindset has to do with their education, and to their education will be someone born in the US may have different expectations and goals as to someone who is foreign born. Okay, some students returning to the classroom need to be introduced once again what it is to learn as an adult and how to use the technology now available to them to assist in the learning process. That is correct, practitioner. That is correct. And this is why community classrooms are going to be key. Because the community classroom affords the ESOL classroom and the ABE GED classroom an opportunity to cultivate a small village within the confines of the room. It's an energy. It's where we get our buy-in. This is where, and if you really want me to be honest, before we start the slide, it's the root of our retention. If we really focus in on establishing engaging community classrooms, it will really help to combat a great deal of our retention issues. Because adults, we know, come with a different bag of information and barrier, all housed in the same bag. They need to have something that they can believe in. They need to know that there is a support system. They must know. They need to know that consistency is going to be there no matter what. The same thing that happened the first week of school during the orientation process that got them revved up and they were so excited to attend. They need to know for sure that that's going to remain. So consistency is going to be important in the adult classroom. Having opportunities for them to share the prior knowledge that they bring to the classroom is going to be essential. Because when they come into our classroom, more often than not, we're not, and I've said this before in webinars past, we're not dealing with the 45-year-old, 50-year-old, 35-year-old, 25-year-old, 20-year-old that we think that we're addressing. That person is present. Let me be clear, but you're really dealing with a part of them that has something that they need to finish. So you're addressing the 16-year-old that may have left school because they had to take care of their family. You're really supporting the individual that life happened to them, so they just left school, or an individual who suffered from learning difficulties, had learning challenges, and felt like they weren't going to be successful in a traditional environment. So they discounted themselves, and they set their mindset to a place that said, you could never do it. You're not good enough. It's never going to happen for you. And then one day, through a conversation with a neighbor, a person at the grocery store, or running into a practitioner by happenstance, they get the push and the boost that they need. And then they come and they sign up for our programs. And when they come in there, they're coming in there with trust, and they're looking for what this picture displays. A community who's helping everybody balance between life, school, and work, and their tomorrows. This is why it's important for us to have community classrooms in adult education. I have something in the chat. Students need to understand how they learn as an individual student. That is correct, practitioner. That is correct. They do. And as they are learning that, it's also a great opportunity for us, in turn, to also pair them with like-minded individuals, so that they learn that not only do they learn the information by themselves, through themselves, and that provides them with an autonomy that cannot be taken by anybody, anywhere, but also partnering them with someone that they can also glean from, and they can glean from each other, and that forms relationships and connections, and affords an opportunity to teach a very important soft skill that they will need in the workforce, and that's networking, collaborative efforts. So bringing them outside of that independent shell without compromising who they are as individuals and how they may learn as individuals, and putting them in an environment that works towards what the workforce is looking for as a soft skill that is also a transferable skill, then we're really cooking with gas. We're really doing exactly what we came to do. And we're really servicing our student from a holistic approach. Thank you, practitioner, for sharing. The Google information research also revealed that most parents want their children to have healthy relationships with technology and know how to navigate and actively engage with technology safely. Why did you include this, Nicole? This is here, one, for digital responsibility, but two, to drive home that very important post-COVID world that we're living in. Everything now is technologically based. You can't go into a grocery store. You can't go into a doctor's office and check in. You can't apply for a job. You can't even purchase, like if you go in the mall, you used to be able to go in Sears, JCPenney's, Macy's, and just buy, you have a plethora of things to choose from. They have a very limited selection now because everything is purchased online. So the children who are growing in our current K-12 environment, this is their expectation. For the adult learner, in some of our counties, in some of our districts, in some of our classrooms, it is an opportunity to access an LMS, but it is not a part of the requirement. And it needs to become a part of the responsibility, because as this information states from Google of Education Research, over half of the adult learning community are parents to school-aged children. According to Google of Education World Research, the US average amount of time Americans under 8 years old spent with mobile devices each day tripled between 2013 and 2017. So can you imagine what happened in the last 2 years. We know that they may or may not, some of them may or may not have fared so well in a formal classroom environment, but it didn't stop them from accessing social media. As a matter of fact, social media blew up because the children had time. So if the children are having time and everything is being geared toward that line of communication, that line of interaction, then we need to prepare our adult learners to be successful beyond the high school equivalencies that they're working toward. We need to truly put them in position to thrive in an environment that is set and ready for workforce in any level of post-secondary learning that they choose, because the sky is their only limit. According to another article from the Society of Technology and Education on computational thinking, it states components will continue to play a critical role across disciplines and interrelated careers when solving problems for years to come. So you have a group of students. I'm gonna say this without excessive license, but I am gonna speak to it. You guys may chop me up in the Q&A or in the chat, but I'm gonna say it. If you have a classroom of students and you receive the test scores, getting that data in your hand is so important at the beginning of the term. So the instructional leader, the coordinator, whomever, the testing administrator, whomever is in charge of the testing scores, those profile reports need to be placed in the hands of the practitioner immediately, so that they can go back, take those scores, dissect those scores, and group those students, not according to level, but according to trend. Because at no point should you have, whether you're teaching an ESOL class or an ABE GED class, should you have all levels in the same group. Because if we think about it, we all learn from each other. No one person is above a person because they may assess better in a particular area. So if you find that you have a group of students, you choose one of each. Identify the trends, identify the strengths, identify the areas of rework, and then place them there. And also consider the way they process, the way they learn, and the way they interact with each other organically in that opening week. So that when you have information and knowledge that you want to share with them, you take these steps, the decomposition, you break the problems down into smaller chunks, make it fun, because they're coming from work, or they're coming from school, or they've been in the house all day with the children. Give them something to really look forward to. Pattern recognition. We know that as adults, we learn by watching patterns. Even as the practitioner, if you want to get real practical, let's think about when we're in the grocery store. We all have our favorite grocery store that we go to no matter what. We find similarities, and we go to different places and we find similarities, we find patterns, but we all have our favorite. And we use that to solve whatever needs we have as it relates to purchasing groceries. Translate that into something that a learner could benefit from. Take a career, translate that to something that a learner could benefit from through similarities and patterns to help them solve the problem that they have before them. Abstraction is always important. Remove all the unnecessary things around that really don't matter. If you find that a student is easily distracted, pull out the meat. Debone whatever the information is. Take the bones, throw them away. All the things that you know they don't need, remove it and get to the core. This is going to be critical when working with adults. You all know that. But sometimes when we get into the day-to-day, we're like, okay, I'm trying to get LCPs. I'm trying to make gains here. This is going to help you do that. formatting a general solution. Now that you've activated decomposition, practical pattern recognition, highlighted the abstractions, now you just got the meat of the content that's necessary to solve the problem. Now you're able to format a general solution. And this is what the student can do. And you can just stand back and observe and allow them to work together in a group, and they'll figure it out. So with all of that said, are you finding this webinar to be beneficial? Is it something that you feel is going to help you in your classrooms? Has it caused you to reconsider some things? I'd like to know. Thank you. Thank you very much. That means a lot. That means a lot. Together we will get there. That means a lot. So when we think about what is adult education? What is it? What is it really? What should it be, rather? It shouldn't be a lecture style environment, because we're adults. No one, and I think sometimes that's where we get a little caught up, because we've gone to school, we're educated, we're formally educated, and sometimes when we're communicating, we disconnect ourselves. So a question I like to ask before I even read this slide is, what subject did you not fare so well? I don't want you to write this, I just want you to think about it. When you were in school, what subject had you kind of caught up and you're like, I just don't do well in here, and it just isn't working for me. How can I get out of this? That's how our adult learners feel sometimes. And I think if we remember that, that's how they're feeling, because we channel ourselves and that part of us every time we go before a class, or every time we go before a group of teachers, or every time we go before a group of leaders, if we remember what it was like to be in the learning seat, it will keep us in a place that's constantly open to understanding, receiving, and developing a community. When we were in college, we thrived in study groups, because you can't make it out here alone. And a lot of the times we forget the simplicities of such gifts. So according to the University of Leicester, student-led learning is defined as student or peer-led learning. Students themselves facilitate their learning, giving them the autonomy, often by students in a year above, guiding students in group activities to discuss materials with their peers and solve problems. We know that. We've all done that. We've all participated in that in some way, shape, or form. The PLCs we're involved in, the professional development sessions that we attend, we just need to transfer that same effort into a classroom community. At the very beginning, if we wait to the middle or to the end, it's doable, because after this session today, some of you are going to go in your class tonight, and you're going to, or tomorrow, and you're going to do something different. Or if you lead a program, you're going to lead differently. If you lead a few programs, you're going to lead those differently, because you're just going to remember what it's like and how much you do more when you are all working collaboratively in the same motion, and that's forward. I see I have something in the chat. Let's see. A practitioner states, adult education for the most part is filling gaps and extracting buried knowledge. This explanation motivates students. You know what? That is phenomenal. A practitioner shared in the chat that what adult ed is designed, what it does for the most part, is it fills the gaps and it extracts buried knowledge because they already come with a prior understanding. And that's why we can't approach them with the idea that they don't know. We can't do that. Social and emotional learning in our classrooms is going to be, CASEL is going to be essential. Now, if you've ever attended one of the webinars or a few webinars from one of the IPDA colleagues, then you know CASEL is so important. And it's important in the K-12 environment. It's important in a whole, it is essential to the K-20 system. Collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning. We cannot operate outside of it. SEL is the process through which all young people and adults acquire and apply knowledge, skills, and attitudes to develop healthy identities, manage emotions, and achieve personal and collective goals, and feel and show empathy for others, establish a main supportive relationship that makes people responsible and for each other and caring about the decisions that are made within the group, in the classroom, and beyond. We don't know. We could be actually helping them establish relationships for the next 10, 20 years, or lifetime relationships with each other that will help them in their careers. All of these pieces are soft skills that are being accidentally taught on purpose to the adult learners that we serve, no matter what subject you're teaching, no matter what skill you're addressing. All of these components are what we call transferable skills. There's also a piece here on life skills and workforce preparation. I provided you all at the end of this session that you already know will be uploaded, that's already uploaded on IPDA. You can go in and you can see what they say regarding vocation. Additionally, according to the literacy information and communication systems, workforce preparation skills mean the knowledge, skills, and competencies that, when developed and demonstrated, prepare individuals to obtain or retain employment or to advance in the workforce. These skills include interpersonal and communication abilities such as teamwork, collaboration, customer service, and workforce competencies, including demonstrated professionalism, critical thinking, and systems thinking within a specific work setting. You know what you can do? This is an idea. Before we start this slide, the next slide, you could set up little career stations. And because at the beginning of the term, you set up these work groups that you can kind of, swap out and exchange if you'd like to keep it creative, and give them very creative names. I've seen some schools, some sites, and some programs have a football themed names, or some of them have color themes, or some of them have historical name themes. Just have a ball with it. Adults love that. They love it. So in knowing that we are tasked, and you all are already doing, you are teaching academic skills, you are unleashing buried knowledge, and you are also teaching soft skill transferables that are found in learning management systems that we adopt, that are found in collaborative play, lesson planning that you all develop, in personalization and differentiation, and dissecting that data. Now that we've had that level of conversation, what's next? What does the creativity look like? Personalize your learning. Don't be afraid to get all crazy in the room. Write it, get a piece of paper, draw it out, Have them draw it out with you. Put some music on, whatever it takes to keep them engaged, to teach the skill that you know they're going to need both in and out of your classroom. Do it. Some of you teachers are on the call and some of you practitioners are on this call and you're saying, what can I do? How can I contextualize my lesson using prior knowledge? Think about what works. Think about your students. Think about a day when you did a lesson that blew their top off and they couldn't wait. They talked about it all the way to the car. Do more of those. How will I create a positively impactful classroom community? It starts with you. It starts with the way you believe in them. It starts with the way you think about them. And then we have what we know we need, what we all need. These lessons always benefit us the same amount, I think equally, as they benefit the learners that we serve. What is SEL and how can I make sure that it is reflected in every single thing we do? Whether it be intentionally or accidentally on purpose. I hope you caught that. Benefits of creativity exposure, flexible thinking increases, multidimensional ideas enhance, discovery and exploration is key. They will begin to embrace working challenges. You give them an opportunity to be exposed to new concepts. It exposes you to new concepts because as you're researching to prepare ideas for them, you're like, whoa, I didn't know that. Aha, fantastic. And it does what we know we need to do to have an engaging community classroom. We build teams. Through a contextualized environment, we have to take that contextualized learning and make it the primary lineup for the way we do everything. You know, adults, we need things to connect to what's happening in our real world or you lose us. We have way too many things going on. I want to give you just 10 seconds to read the definition. I won't read it aloud. But this is very important. Who teaches from this place? Let me know in the chat. Who uses contextualization to drive everything that they do? If you don't, it's a great opportunity for you to begin to incorporate this. I have a colleague who promises by the grasp concept wheel. So do I. Identify the goal. What role is the student playing in the process? Who's the community? It says audience, but I'm going to say community. Communities are threads. What's the situation that the community has to face? What products are you going to use to connect the community to the situation so that you can help them understand it? So that they look at the standards of what's needed and that they actually meet the goal. See, together we get where we're going. Community is chief. We have a few comments before we move on. Yes, IET programs work directly with this. And you know, I'd like to say, and I'd like to speak to this without excessive license. Thank you, practitioner, for sharing. Thank you, all three of you, for your active participation. Relating whatever we're teaching to real world is going to be the catalyst to preparing these learners to be successful far beyond our programs. And whether you have an active IET program or not, it would be a great idea if everything you did within that classroom connected back to grasp and contextualization and community building that would provide the adult learner with adult transferable workforce skills that can take them wherever they want to go. And that when they come back to you or run into you anywhere in the world, they're jumping up and down and they're screaming and they're saying, "You won't believe what happened to me." There's no better feeling. So just to move on, but not move on, clear goals and objectives, compare and contrast, always have students annotate, summarizing all of the content, recognition and reinforcement, application of whatever the skill is you have taught. Give them time to what I like to call play. Give them sandbox time. They've got to be in a lab of some sort, not a literal lab, but a lab within your class or within your PLC or your Google Classroom or whatever virtual platform or digital platform you use. Give them opportunities for them to make educated guesses so that they can test their hypotheses. And then provide them opportunities for repetition. Just having a good time. The more they do it, the more it sticks. Let it be targeted, let it be something directly correlated to a skill. But if you're doing all the talking, you're doing all the learning. The same principles that we've discussed throughout this session are the same principles that are going to ring true in an ELL classroom. That every time I visit an ELL classroom, the thing that I love the most is the community. They're always having a great time. They cultivate relationships. We could stand to learn to cultivate more relationships within our class, although we have quite a few. Emphasize productive language, teaching language across subjects, ensure that you are understood by the learner, incorporate multiple modalities, and allow for opportunities for native tongue infusions. People care more about whatever you're doing when they know how much you care about them. These are just attributes: debrief, metacognition, developing, classifying, key vocabulary. And this page, I really would like for you to take the opportunity and really just go through the works cited. Pull some of these articles, infuse the material that's listed here, unpack it, share it with your students. So, because the more you know, the more you share, the more they know, and the more they can share with their children. This was a great session. It really was. I hope that you enjoyed it. Do you have any questions? If you do, please put them in the chat. If you have any comments you'd like to ask, if the session really supported what you were needing, please let us know. We're always looking to improve. This is a great opportunity to do so. Thank you, practitioners, for attending. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with you. But before you go, there is a survey that we'd like for you to complete. Please complete the survey. It's 3 brief questions. We won't keep you long. And while you're completing that survey, I want to let you know to be sure to tune in next week. Next Wednesday, we have Super 6 Principles of Andragogy. So we'll see you next week after you complete the survey. Thank you so much for spending the afternoon with me for this past hour. You all are everything. We are nothing without you. Your commitment to the adult learner is unparalleled. We wish you a fantastic rest of the week. Go on and be great and be safe out there and enjoy your communities. Bye-bye.